What's up, everybody? I am back with a movie review. Continuing on with the animated month, I am reviewing the 1999 animated film Tarzan. Now, before I continue, please do me a huge favor. Leave a like, because YouTube systems, for some reasons, going through some issues with the like button for some reason. And do me a huge favor and make sure that is functioning correctly. But also follow me in the links in the description below, such as my YouTube channel and Twitch, where I review comics, movies, TV shows, play games, as well as react to videos. Now, yeah, man, there's a lot to say about this film, but first and foremost, this was directed by Kevin Lima and Chris Buck, and it stars Tony Goldwyn, who you might remember as the villain in the Patrick Swayze film Ghost. He's been in other stuff, but this and Ghost is the two primary things I remember him from. Fun fact, because he plays as Tarzan, but fun fact, Brendan Fraser auditioned twice for this role, but he got passed up for Tony because he gave more of like an animalistic take in his audition. But when a door closes, a window opens. Brendan Fraser later got the lead role for George of the Jungle, which is kind of wild. Well, that came out in 1997, 2 years before. So I guess he thought he can get the role of a similar character like Tarzan. Anyway, Minnie Driver voices Jane Porter, Rosie O'Donnell as Turk, Glenn Close as Kala, Brian Bless as William Cecil Clayton, Lance Henriksen as Kerchak, Wayne Knight as Tantor, Nigel Hawthorne as Professor Archimedes Q. Porter. So the beginning of the movie is set in 1890s, where a couple with their baby, who will be Tarzan, is shipwrecked when place got on fire. The whole entire ship went on fire, and they were the only 3 survivors. So they end up marooned on the island in the equator region of Africa. So they end up building a treehouse, essentially, for them to have some shelter and look after their kid. Meanwhile, running parallel, we see Kala and Kerchak raising their young son. And I gotta mention here, the music soundtrack of this film is phenomenal. Thank you to Phil Collins, who, along with like Elton John and Randy Newman, who were the primary ones doing a lot of songs for a lot of kids' animated films in like the 90s and the early 2000s. Very catchy stuff. So we see like the music, playing right now is just kind of like a good, it boosts the scenes where there's no dialogue, which fundamentally works in a film like this, where you can just let the scene play out and you can just tell from how things are playing what you can infer. Where there's this jaguar, or no, was it jaguar or leopard? I think it's leopard. Yeah, a leopard named Sabor, who doesn't talk. Now, this is one of the things that I kind of want to point out really quick, is the fact that we got talking gorillas and talking elephants, clearly. But all the other animals, for some reason, aren't speaking any kind of English for the audience like these other animals. And Sabor, for some reason, isn't like, you know, doesn't have a voice. I don't know. I don't expect him to be like. You would think at first, if you watch this for the first time, he'll be like a major villain player of this film. But you wouldn't necessarily be wrong, but you're not necessarily right either. But I'm just kind of like bummed. Like, you could not give this character, who is a very influential figure in this entire film, and you don't give him any speaking lines, because you expect him to be like the scar of this film. But but he is like scary early on. So Sabor ends up killing a Kerchak and Kala's kid, who scurried off without supervision. And it gets freaking, like, for a kids film, and this is how you make freaking kids film back in the day when I grew up. Even before me, back in like the 80s, they don't shy away from like death. Especially in a Disney film, anime film, they do not shy away. You know what happens. And just the look on the parents' face and Kerchak holding her back, knowing that she wasn't going to make it in time anyway. And the last thing she probably wanted to see is, because by the time she get there, it'll probably be like the gutting of her own kid. And that's something she probably wanted to see. It's already bad enough. She's hearing the painful crying screams of her kid getting ripped apart. Then, not too long later, Kala veers off from the pack to where the treehouse is, and finds the dead bodies of Tarzan's parents and a hidden away Tarzan. And she just barely made it out, where Sabor is still hiding in the rafters. It's like, wait a minute. You ask yourself, how is it that this leopard ain't attacked the baby, a defenseless baby, yet? It's kind of wild. It's just been laying there. What? But Kala managed to save the child and avoid the attack by Sabor. So she brings the child to the her gorilla family, which Kerchak is like immediately. It's like, this is unacceptable, because like, you're trying to replace something that you lost. Isn't, this is not healthy. But she expressed that her the baby's parents was murdered by Sabor, so he has no body. We have to take care of him. So reluctantly, Kerchak says, fine, keep the kid, but I'm not acknowledging him as my son. So don't get it twisted. So fast forward 7 years later, Tarzan, who's best friends with Kala's niece, Turk, is having trouble, outside of Kala and Turk, is having trouble being accepted by the gorilla tribe, because they treat him like an outsider because he doesn't look like them. And that's like the hurdle that Tarzan will have to go through this entire film. Like Kala expressed to him that you know, what do you feel like? We still got same five fingers, so we both got a heartbeat. We are the same where it matters. This is a nice sentiment, I guess. So Tarzan decides to, after being dismissed by Kerchak, he decides to try to prove himself by being like the best gorilla in the tribe. So we see this little montage and the incredible song "Son of Man" playing on this montage, and we see Tarzan building his strength and maneuverabilities to be just as mobile, if not more agile than the other gorillas. And I gotta say, right here now, well, I got the chance because we see animation style of him sliding through the trees and everything like that. I remember as a kid, like behind the scenes of the promotion of this film, how the animators is trying to, make Tarzan and how he's able to maneuver through the trees and everything like that. They study how the gorillas move, so they have somebody mimic how he would move realistically if he was trying to move like a gorilla, and is walking on his knuckles and the kind of very crouchy position, and then also him surfing, because the trees is and the branches got some 3D models to it, so it kind of blends in with the 2D style, where he's kind of like, they envision him like kind of like surfing through the branches and limbs. So that's they utilize that kind of mobile style to get him from point A to B, which is like a brilliant idea. All that stuff kind of stuck with me over the years because I thought that was such a brilliant idea on their part to make sure that this seems like you can definitely buy this. This is how Tarzan would move in the jungle. But even though not managed to cut himself on any branches or get any kind of splinters or anything like that, but I also imagine that his hands, knuckles, and feet would have gotten pretty callous and tough over the years to the point where it's not like a issue. As a matter of fact, I also think, okay, sure, animals still bathe in their own way. So imagine, Tarzan still does some very rudimentary bathing, but I'm pretty sure he still stinks. And then when you eventually meet and get with Jane, it's like, because they made a TV show out of this after the fact, kind of like with Hercules, of their time in the jungle, and it's like, y'all probably smell so nasty, and somehow still hook up with each other. But it's an animated film. You don't want to think about that part. But I just want to address that, behind the scenes stuff, because that always stuck with me over the years, and the brilliant way they put all this together. Because this is based off of a book written by Edgar Rice Burroughs. So, one day, while on the move, Sabor attacks the group. Now, Kerchak tries to fend it off, but he gets wounded a bit, which put him in like a vulnerable state. Tarzan jumps in and because he made himself like a makeshift spear. He comes in to defend his adoptive father, and he starts attacking and fighting Sabor, which is a very gruesome fight for a kids film. But he manages to kill this thing, and it's kind of crazy because you don't think about it as a kid, but nobody ever told Tarzan, especially Kala, did not bother to inform him at no point in his upbringing, because Sabor has been around for a while up until this point, so clearly you would think at some point you had a conversation. Hey, well, I guess she didn't want to bring up about, about the whole his parents and everything like that, because she just views them like, this is my kid. So, but it's just, I don't know, there will be some type of discussion about this animal, but she did not bring up the fact that you just inadvertently, and I think this is probably the only time you would think in a movie where the hero got revenge against a villain, against a villain who murdered his parents without his knowledge of that, happening. It's kind of weird. It's like Colin did not say nothing. That's kind of crazy. It's like why don't you tell him he just murdered the killer of his parents? So he does his iconic Tarzan yell, which is like, it's been a while since I heard that iconic sound, and the voice actor did an amazing job, because that war cry echoes and it's pretty iconic. And he takes the dead body of Sabor to Kerchak, where Kerchak is about to give him some props until they hear gunfire. And that's where we meet Jane and Clayton and her father, who's in Africa looking for apes. Of course, this probably would be set not too long after maybe WW1, probably like in the 1920s, and expedition has always been like a major thing around this time. Explorers all over the place, searching for treasure or animals or artifacts, wherever. So I guess at the time they didn't have that much information about how gorillas lived and socialized and all that other stuff. So, because I was thinking to myself as I was watching, y'all don't know anything about gorillas. Y'all act like you never seen gorillas before. But I think to myself, okay, maybe they're looking for a specific details about how gorillas habitate. So Tarzan sees them and kind of observes from afar until Jane wanders off. There's a lot of people wandering off from the group, if you think about it, in this film. And it's always lead to something bad happening because of it. She messes, well, not purposely mess with a child baboon, but the baboon is trying to take a drawing of hers. She tries to take it back, but then the other baboon family starts chasing after her until Tarzan saves her in hilarious moments, until he just to stop them, he gives back the drawing to the baby, so the baboon stops messing with her. And this leads to my favorite scene between Tarzan and Jane, where he's pretty much observing her and come to realize, oh my god, you're just like me. And I love the look of Jane. I think she's one of my favorite Disney princesses that kind of get slept on. It's not like an official princess, but she under that banner. But what I also want to praise Jane is that she's not like your conventional Disney princess. She has like she's kind of fairly above average. She's not perfect. Not any of them were perfect, but there's a certain hierarchy and beauty standards, and Jane will be, in all fairness and no shade, she's above average in looks. But that's also the charming part about her, and she had a charming little British little accent and wit and uh, 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 and then the dialogue exchange between the two characters is so freaking funny after all these years. It's like, no, 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 no. Me, I'm Jane. No, 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 no. I'm Jane. It's just, that little, oh my god, it's so freaking funny. It still holds up in terms of comedy. That is just so good. But we have to hear through Jane's point of view how Tarzan actually is communicating, because early on we're just thinking like, oh, it's just regular dialogue. But no, on the outside looking in, he is speaking in grunts and like that tone to communicate with the other, because he learns communication through ape speak. Hey, Axel. He's speaking through like ape speak, but he communicates the name Tarzan pretty good. Like Tarzan. So it's like you say the word Tarzan in English, but everything else is more grunts and oohs. It's kind of weird. So Tarzan leads Jane back to her camp, where Clayton and the father are amazed by this ape man in the jungle. Now, yeah, what I was about to say, crap. It was something I'm about to say in this moment, and now it just kind of left me. Oh, I know what I was about to say. I love the design, how they went about creating Tarzan. In certain scenes, there's like an intensity in the eyes. There's like some level of animalistic power coming off of him. Like there's some energy, like when he's in the trees and he's hanging, he's like looking from afar. He got just like that zeroed in intensity. It's like they did an impressive job, designing this character. That he certainly has this like happy, kooky moments. But when things get serious, he's laser focused, and he has this intensity that, oh my god, he can f stuff up. This is like, oh wow, this is a great design. They took some time with this character. So they decide to kind of civilize Tarzan, trying to get him to learn English, because since he was raised by gorillas, they hope he can lead them to the gorillas for study. While Clayton, you'll learn he wants to capture and sell the gorillas, which turns out obviously he's the true villain. So this movie technically has two villains, but one doesn't last too long, which I guess makes Tarzan kind of stand out a little bit more than most other films. Then you get like another like the whole, well, before I get into this musical thing with another Phil Collins song, there is a moment like the movie kind of slows down a bit because of Rosie O'Donnell's character Turk and the other uh, friend gorillas and the elephant, and it is awful. And I you can tell they're trying to repeat, like the try to capture lightning in the bottle again, like they had with Robin Williams as Genie. So they try to utilize, oh, let's get this other comedian who they initially wanted Chris Rock, but he refused to do it. So they managed to get a hold of Rosie O'Donnell for the character of Turk, and they kind of hope that Rosie O'Donnell, who has been in pretty decent stuff in the past, to try to, because Robin Williams is such an unique individual that, as good as any other comedian is, they could not repeat what Robin Williams was able to produce. So they was cross their fingers and hoping for the best, but she could not elevate any comedic stuff in this film at all. Your eyes roll most of the time when she's talking. Uh, uh, and there's obviously like trailer shots they implemented in the film to be part of the trailer for the VHS tapes. Like, thank you very much. They always stuck because it was in every commercial. It's like, oh yeah, kids, like I know of Elvis, but I'm not an Elvis fan. The millennials, when this movie came out, when us millennials were kids, we wasn't listening to no Elvis. It's like, but you're trying to make an Elvis joke. Maybe you're trying to cater to the parents and the grandparents out there who had grew up with Elvis, probably. But this was like, it slowed down the entire film, at least for a brief period, trying to do a musical number and stuff. Like I said, they was trying to repeat Robert Williams, did not work. But anyway, back to the main event. So we get like a awesome Phil Collins song, son of not son man, strangers like me, where we see a montage of them teaching Tarzan about English and civilization, all the things he pretty much missed so far, because he's been on this island for all his life. And he slowly but surely starts falling for Jane and vice versa. But he expressed to them that he cannot take them to his gorilla nest because he just says Kerchak, but they don't know who or what Kerchak is. But it's like, dude, just fully explain to them, like, look, I'm not allowed to bring you to my gorilla family because my leader will go ballistic, so it's not gonna happen. Sorry. But their time's going short because the boat they're supposed to come back to the island to come pick them up is arriving. They gathering their things. Clayton tricks Tarzan into revealing the nest, in order hopes to keep Jane here with him. It all falls apart where Kerchak sees this and he goes crazy and he defends the humans. This disappoints Kerchak. They're like, oh, so you're just against us now. Like, I knew you was never a part of us. So this upsets Tarzan, who runs away. Kala finds him, takes him to the treehouse, which still is, after all this time, still like somehow not completely eroded at this point. So there's still like the picture frame of his parents and him as a baby. So she tells him like everything that happened and where he came from. Much to her, I won't say detriment, but she feels like, she's always afraid of this moment that she was, I guess, trying to avoid because she always saw herself as Tarzan's mom and think like he will just not be around anymore or see her that way anymore if he knew of his origins. But he, reassured her that no, you will always be my mother. He starts wearing his father's old clothes because he decides to go with Jane to back to England, and as Jane, and her father and Clayton gets on the boat, the captain and the crew all gets Jane and the others all get captured and thrown in the brig by Clayton and his stowaway poachers. Trying to, now that he knows where the nest is, he's gonna capture those gorillas and sell them. Luckily, Turk and what was that elephant's name? Well, it doesn't matter. They hear Tarzan's war cry. They go sneak on board, break them loose, and fight off the poachers as he's making his way to the to land, so that way he can save his gorilla family. Kerchak tries to fend off Clayton, but gets mortally wounded by his shotgun that he's been shooting off throughout most of this film. Which, by the way, I love like the differences in like acknowledgement of the gunshots by Tarzan as Jane as he learns that from Jane that the gunshots are coming from Clayton. Early on, when he hears a gunshot, he's like Clayton. It's like that's just like, oh, it's Clayton. He's just like signaling himself. But now, at this part of the movie, when he hears that gunshot, it's more of a dread Clayton. It's like I love that because I'm not sure many people kind of like acknowledge that part or speak of it, but it's just that it went from like a sharp like, oh, excitement. It's like this Clayton just shooting off this little gun. Like, hey, Clayton. Now it's like, oh, God, it's Clayton. It's just like, I love that. Is that, things have, completely changed at this point. So he ends up fighting off Clayton under like vines, and he gets, shot in the arm. So he's kind of wounded. So he's, fighting at half strength. But hoisted by his own petard, Clayton falls through the vines while he's wildly hacking away with his machete. He ends up falling and hanging himself. And you see in the gruesome depiction of like a shadowy body of Clayton swinging from the branches. You see the flash of a thunder in the sky. You see that shadow against the tree. Like I said, the kill count in this film is like crazy for a kids film. But we loved that about films back then. They didn't treat us kids when we were kids like they treat us with like some air of respect and like not idiots. We can handle certain things like death, not necessarily need to see any kind of goriness, but you can still do some implying, so that way we know that things can get intense. So now that threat is over. Jane and Tarzan say a tearful goodbye, knowing that he refuses to go to England, and now that Kerchak has died, and also gives him his props as well as calling him his son, acknowledging him before he passes away. Tarzan's now responsible to look after his essentially herd, and he says tearful goodbye to Jane, but Jane's dad tells her like, clearly you love him, go to him. So he tells the captain that him and his daughter are going to live on the island, telling him you couldn't find us, which is like, I don't know how I feel about that. It's like, bro, it's like, how do you expect to? Because, like I said, it's the TV show. You see him like kind of like an inventor, so he has some kind of level of like build like a sustainable living conditions, from what I vaguely remember from the series. But uh, it just nobody actively want to choose to live on in a jungle with. Not saying there's no resources, but it's like it's just like no one wants to like out of a civilization. All that you know, you're choosing to live on an island where you would be hard pressed to ever see another boat again in case you ever get homesick. It's just like it's the Victorian era, so I guess you could get away with that kind of stuff rather than right now where we got like better civilization compared to the Victorian era. So no one would ever think to just like, oh, I want to live on a jungle island in the middle of nowhere and just live with amongst the gorillas. Like no one would ever do that. That is so, I don't know. It always seems stupid to me. But anyway, the movie ends with now Tarzan with Jane in their little loincloths, and he's leading like his gorilla family, and he does this epic war cry before the credits roll with the title Tarzan bursting through. And that was Tarzan. But it's, man, despite like certain issues, phenomenal work. Oh god, it still looks great. I love 2D animations. Like it's easily one of my favorite, illustrations of movies. Man, yeah, I give all the shout outs to the people who worked behind the scenes to create this film. And the voice acting is pretty good. It's a shame that Clayton, doesn't rank that high in terms of Disney villains, because I think he's kind of slept on. But I can see why he doesn't rank that very high, because he doesn't really stick the I won't say stick the landing, but kind of like seal the deal in terms of his threat. If he would probably, maybe it would have helped if he was introduced a lot sooner in the film, so he can have like a more of a presence. Because I guess he feels like one of those kind of shoved in villains or surprise villains in these type of films, kind of like Atlantis in the Lost Empire with that army guy. It just seems like too late in the game in a way. But it's not as bad as that, Atlantis Lost Empire, but still, it's like kind of wish he was a little bit more of a presence here. That way, he would have ranked more higher for a bunch of people. But he's not a bad Disney villain, and he got probably one of the most gruesome deaths out of all the Disney villains. But anyway, I'm curious to know what you guys think of Tarzan. Next week, I got 2 more movies to review before we end the animation month. But I will see you guys soon. Later on tonight, I'm going to be a little bit late because I got a Zoom meeting in like nearly 30 minutes. So hopefully it doesn't take too long, and I'll get back to playing some. Well, I was intending to get back to playing some Digimon, but I think I'll be streaming kind of short because I get up early for to get on the movie set tomorrow. So that's gonna be like most of the afternoon and evening. So I'm gonna need my rest. But I'll play a little bit of Marvel Rivals tonight. So as soon as like the meeting is over, I'll get back to streaming and play it a little bit. But anyway, look forward to that. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. And look forward next week, because next week next Thursday, I will get back to starting back the chaotic lore videos. Already got a good chunk stocked up, so there's going to be like some impressive batches this year. So, anyway, take care, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.